Hey everybody, welcome back to Fursuit Nation. I am your host, Firefly, and this episode is going to be on about commissioning a fursuit, and also we're going to take a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into actually making that suit from a creator's point of view. Since I don't commission other people, I make my own. We'll take a look at that side more. We're going to jump straight into questions right off the bat, because I think that'll pretty much cover everything, instead of just me rambling away about mindless, sensical nonsense. So, right off the bat, how much does a fursuit cost? That's really going to depend on what you're looking to get in a fursuit. If you're going for a full suit, partial, if you're just looking for maybe a head and a tail, you're just looking for paws. It's really going to depend on who you're going through, if you're getting that commissioned. Different makers charge different amounts. Some are great and charge a decent price, and there's plenty out there that charge a lot and fail to deliver a decent product. And then there's the other spectrum where they deliver an excellent product and you're getting it for almost next to nothing. As far as making your own suit, you're probably going to want to look at again how much you want to make. Partial, like how Firefly is right now, I want to say I spent close to $200 roughly to get to this point, and it'll probably be another $300, maybe $400 to finish the bodysuit. So I'm looking at a total of about $500 to $600. If you were to commission, the average prices can range anywhere from $500 for a partial, all the way up to $3 or $4 grand. I think I've seen prices all the way in the sixes. So, really depends on how much you're willing to spend, and also, do you like what that maker produces? A lot of makers will have examples of their work that you can look through pictures on. If you have the opportunity, it'd be great to actually meet some of the suitors in person that have purchased that maker's suits before. You can see the type of quality that goes into them. And that goes into our next question here that I have listed is, what materials are used? Let's see. In general, you're going to have fur, fake fur, or also known as fox fur. That can range in price anywhere from $10 a yard at your local fabric store for some cheap stuff, all the way up to basically Hollywood grade fur that's running $40, $50 a yard. Actually, no, it's not a yard, it's a square foot. And I don't recommend that you go and buy the most expensive stuff you can find. Try to find something in the middle at first. If you want to go top of the line, that's completely up to you. But I'm not recommending it. Start small, especially if you're pretty new to the world of fursuit making or crafting in general. You need to take time and practice, because you'd hate to ruin a nice piece of fur that cost you a couple $100 to get and you shaved it too close. So get something that you can practice on, you can afford to make mistakes on, because undoubtedly you will make mistakes. And the same goes for commission. They generally use middle of the road fur. Some of them will use the high-end furs, especially per request. Again, though, that's going to alter how much you end up paying for the final product. Other materials that go into your fursuit are, you'll probably have foam, some upholstery foam or craft foam in there, and mainly that's going to be for the head or any padding. and that's to give form, such as in fingers, add a little bit of bulk, in feet, add shape, and of course in the head. And another thing with the head too, they don't always come in foam. There are a lot of makers out there that use a resin blank, which can range from anything from plaster of Paris type material all the way up to high density plastics and polypropylene resins. And you're going to pay different prices based on what that maker uses, and also they'll generally have different qualities based on what is used. A resin blank is usually very fine and really small, easy to detail. It allows for a much realistic looking head base to work off of. A lot of people actually take the resin blank and add some foam padding on it to add a little bit of character, flare out the muzzle, add some eyebrows. And that's just to make it their own, because the last thing you need is to look like every other animal out there. Let's see, what else on materials? The eyes are generally made of buckram type fabric, so fabric with small holes in it. I actually use a mesh material that's actually for, I think it's cross stitch, and that seems to work really fine. It's plastic. I have run into issues where the holes aren't fully punched through and I have to go through and take my time and finish the job that the factory didn't. And then you've got craft foam. I use that mainly right here in the eyes. These claws are craft foam. Other makers might use them to do scales, ears even, tongue, teeth. Another material that's going to be common in pretty much every fursuit, you can't imagine this not being the case, is going to be some type of glue. You're going to have most likely a hot glue, and that's really to adhere the fur to the foam or the resin blank in the head, and the rest of it's going to be mainly sewn with thread. At least I'd hope it'd be thread. And as far as glues go, I found that a low temperature hot glue gun works tenfold times better than the high temperature, just because the high temperature has a tendency to let the hot glue just seep straight through that foam, and it can become kind of obnoxious at times when your parts no longer stick together. So take the time to do it right the first time, do your research, and experiment on the materials that you plan to use. How much fur will I need to build my own fursuit? That's going to really depend on what again you're doing. Are you going for a partial or digigrade? Even a quad suit, we're not going to touch much on that. I don't think at all, even. Just because I don't even want to venture there. That's a whole nother ball game. And it's also going to depend on how big of a person you are. If you're really tall, you're going to, of course, need more than if you're really short. And if you're a bigger character or person in general, you probably need a little bit more fur. But generally, you're probably going to look at an average of 4 to 5 yards to make a full suit, and probably close to 2.5 to make a partial, and that's to give you a little bit of room. You can probably get away by squeezing it with 2. I myself, for Firefly, have squeezed away with a yard of dark camel and a yard of black, and that was enough for me to do everything to this point. And I figure I'll probably need another 3 or 4 yards to finish, because I'm a little bit taller. And depending on where you get it, again, it's going to bolster the price. You may choose to go with a different quality fur than the one you had initially planned, based on how much you're going to need. And furs come in different lengths, I guess is what they're called: shag length, fur pile. And you're going to look at probably anywhere in the range from 1-inch pile fox fur all the way up to 3, and I think I've seen 5 or 6-inch pile out there. And really what that is, that's the length of the individual strands of fake fur that are on the fabric, with 1 inch being the shortest, of course, and 6 being definitely the longest. I generally use a 2-inch pile for the body, and 1 inch is definitely fine for doing the head and paws and whatnot, though you are going to have to shave that down, and you're probably going to shave it down to almost 1/4 inch or less, so you can get the smoothest texture possible out of it. Where can you buy fur and other materials? First place to start is going to be your local craft store or fabric shop. They'll carry most of the stuff. They might not have necessarily the fabric that you want. And if that's the case, you order online. I order my fur online from, what are they called? I'm sure it'll come to me later. But I order mine online. It takes about 1 to 2 days for processing, and it ships from the Bay Area here in California. So it only takes about 3 days for me to get it once it's done processing. And shipping rates for fabric can be rather expensive, because fabric, especially fur, can weigh quite a bit, and you don't really realize that until you actually get the box, and it's like, oh my goodness, this weighs 10 pounds, and you only ordered like 3 yards. So shipping costs can be kind of exorbitant, but it's definitely worth it if you can't find the stuff you're looking for at a local store. If you feel like you can travel, and there's a store that carries the material that you want, that's great. As far as other odds and ends that you're probably going to use, your local Wally World, Walmart, Target, Kmart, any other large retail store will probably carry, of course, hot glue sticks, hot glue guns, thread, craft foam. One interesting thing to note, I found that Walmart itself, actually, in their craft department, sells upholstery foam and stuffing, which is great for making tails and pillows if you don't want to use foam blocks for making padding. More about that later. So I recommend that you go look online, look around, take your time, don't be in a rush. The last thing you want to do is order something that turn out you don't really care for. A lot of these fabric websites will actually send you free samples, or will ship them to you at a steeply discounted rate, so you can actually see the actual product before making a big commitment and ordering quite a bit. Still can't remember what that company's called. I'm sure it's going to come to me any minute. Anyway, the place I use, they send up to 5 free swatches, and as soon as you actually buy any length of fur, or fabric for that matter, they're sold in 1 yard increments. They will allow you to order up to 5 more free fabric samples, and those usually generally are 2 to 3 inches by about the same, so it's about a yay big square, and those work really well for just figuring out exactly what color you want to go to. You can use those to actually do experiment some shaving on, which I've done. It really helps actually to glue the fabric to a stiff piece of cardboard so it has some shape, and practice your shaving or trimming on that. If you're going to use scissors, you definitely want to practice that way. It's going to be a lot harder if it's in motion, though you will need to be able to do it around curves. Practice on a flat first so you can get it even first. Next we have, I need a tutorial, and or tutorials I see aren't good. This is really where a lot of people get stuck, is they don't know where to start and they don't know how to get the final product that they want. They see a lot of suits out there that they admire and they want to make something just like that, just maybe a little bit different color, different styling here or there, but they want it to look like that. And the issue that a lot of these people have is they find out all they can about how that suit was made, who made it, and what the materials might be that have gone into that suit, but the maker doesn't have any videos on how it was actually constructed, or usually any tutorials or just a walkthrough, because these people are in it so that they can make money. It's, for many people, it's what they do for their career, and to give away all the trade secrets would honestly put them out of a job. So there's not a lot of tutorials out there, and there's definitely not a lot of great tutorials. There are a few. You just have to look around, watch a whole bunch of videos, clips, read a whole lot of journal posts. There are tutorials online by some of them by some pretty good makers, and those are invaluable. They're great to have. Bookmark them if you haven't already when you find them, and you're going to stumble across some that speak volumes and will help you get that look that you're going for, and then you'll stumble across others where they're completely irrelevant. Just watch them all. You can learn from others' mistakes, honestly, or what you would see as somebody else's mistake. You don't honestly know, because that might be what they're trying to achieve. It's just not your preference. So I do not think I will be doing any tutorials as of yet. And main reason for that is it's hard enough with my school and trying to do these. The only reason I'm able to do this video so close to the last one is because I'm on spring break right now, which sadly ends in two days. So I have to go back, and I'm not really looking forward to that, but at the same time I'm glad I'm able to get this done and out there, because then I'll just have 3 more weeks of school and I'll be done, and I can sit back down and work on the next one. So if you guys find any good tutorials that you want to share, go ahead and you can post them in the comments of this video, or send me a link to them. I can check them out, and I can post them up on our Twitter page at Fursuit Nation. Here's a good one. You want to have that perfect suit, but you don't really know how to get it there, and you want it to look a certain way. An issue I think a lot of people run into is they find that one style that they really like, I'm not going to say they try to copy it so much as they try to replicate it, and it's not because they're trying to steal another person's ideas, it's because they like it so much that they're going to try their own hand at trying to create something like that. So what a lot of people run into, though, is they aren't able to make it like that, and they get discouraged, they give up. What a lot of people, I think, have is honestly, they're not as experienced. A lot of these fursuit makers, they've been doing this for a very long time. And if you look at their first suits that they ever constructed compared to the latest one that they just sold, oftentimes you can see an incredible improvement in workmanship. Though there are the rare ones where the first one they ever made is a stunning piece of art. So it can happen. It's not likely, but if you take your time, be patient, don't rush things, don't be in a hurry to get things done, that can usually mess you up quite a bit if you rush things, because you'll do things and yeah. Okay, enough about that. This was a question that was sent in. Are you supposed to install the eyes before or after furring? So this is a question in regards to basically the head and when do you install these peepers. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. What you're going to look at is mainly what type of eyes you are installing. If you're going for a more realistic and you're using resin eyes with like tear duct vision or through the mouth vision, which we'll talk about a little bit later, then I'm going to suggest that you probably want to install those after. Have the holes pre-cut, furred, shaved, and then insert the eyes. And also make sure you tuck some of that fur in around the eye so it looks like it's natural and not just placed on top. These eyes are actually a combination of both. They were inserted first, and then this black rim, it actually is a lip. It goes roughly 3 millimeters to the outside of the eye. So imagine you got your eye right here, the side of the eye, and now there's actually a lip going like this over the side here. And that allows all the fur to kind of pile in underneath. And I really like this way. It looks cleaner, and it's quite a bit easier to make, in my opinion, and offers some pretty decent vision compared to some of the other stuff out there. But it doesn't really matter when you install the eyes, just so long as if you're going to put eyes in there, they get in there before you go out walking. It may look great when you're inside walking around and you can see fine, but a lot of people don't like the suits that you, I guess, use your own eyes for lack of a better term, I guess. A lot of those people that prefer to use their own eyes do it mainly because they feel it offers a more realistic look. They can actually get some eye movement out of it. But I think the general reason people dislike that style is it's not very proportional. Your eye placement is going to dictate how you construct the head, whereas with eyes in the head, that just dictates how much mesh you need and where you're going to put the mesh, or whatever way you're going to see through it. So next one is also in relation to that. What about the teeth? I've done both. Alpine's teeth over here were installed after furring, and honestly, when you do the mouth, I prefer to fleece the mouth, the inside, before I even do any furring, so that it's done. Usually I use a black fleece, and then I also make a fleece tongue as well, and put those in. And as soon as those are in, the inside of the mouth, as far as furring, is done. You really just have to fur the lips, and that doesn't interfere with the inside. So you can add teeth whenever you want. If you want, you can add the teeth and cut the I forgot what it's called, the felt, around to fit over the teeth and kind of maybe have a little lip on that. I did that with Alpine over here a little bit with an extra strip just to help secure it. Alpine's teeth are actually made out of a silicone resin, and I don't recommend that just because, yeah, they look pretty decent. They look wet and slick, but the issue I'm having is you can't really adhere them well to anything. Hot glue doesn't hold very well. I've tried super glue. That has a tendency to eat away some of the silicone. And unfortunately, you can't sew through it very well, because as soon as you start to tighten it, it just slices through it like butter. So there's other ways. You can make them out of craft foam. Just cut ridges and glue them down. Firefly, you can probably see right here, hopefully, maybe. These ones are actually made of hardened clay, oven baked clay, and the way I make those is I hand mold them to fit inside the jaw first, bake them, and then paint them. By painting them, you can get a lot more detail out of them. Usually I try to add a little bit of plaque and a little bit of browning at the base of the teeth to really help it blend in to the rest of the jaw there. Another thing you're going to want to look at is how many teeth you're going to put in and where. I only do lower teeth just because I like to be able to make the jaw close all the way, and if I had upper teeth, it would require either a larger jaw or a major rework. Plus, most people I don't think are going to see all your teeth. So yeah, you if you want, go ahead and toss in a full set of teeth, and more power to you. I just try to go with the minimum to make it look like the character has some teeth at least. Big thing, especially with canine type characters, is you need to make sure you look at pictures of real animals' teeth, and look how they're constructed. Count how many teeth there actually are. Dogs have 4 in the front, just like us, and then they have their canines on either side. I have seen people put 6 in front. I've seen people put 8 in front before going to the canines. Those look really awkward. I'm not going to lie. They're kind of creepy. So, I mean, if you're going for something far out, that's fine. If you're trying to be more true to the creature you're trying to depict, look at images of that picture, study the animal a little bit, and bring it to life. Next, going back a little bit to the eyes here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, I'm not scrolling. There we go. How is the vision? Okay, and I wanted to talk a little about the space where I was able to see from. There's usually 3 different areas that you're going to see from. And it's going to be from the mouth directly. Some people look through there, which is really awkward when you see them in videos. I mean, it honestly looks like the suit ate a person, and they're screaming out inside, "Help me, help me!" So, there's those. There are ones that look through the neck. A lot of these are going to be more quad suits. Some of the brony, pony, horse, equine suits, because they have longer necks, they're going to look through the neck instead of the head, just as a matter of people's necks aren't that long. So, I mean, yeah, I guess you could have a long neck, but I honestly don't see anybody having something that long and still being human. Another way to see is obviously through the eyes themselves. And you can have either mesh, like what I use. You can use buckram, various types of fabrics that you can see through when it's close to your eye, but other people can't see at a distance or even just a few inches because it's darker on the inside than it is out here, generally. Not saying people are dumb in fursuits. It's aha, the phone. And there it goes again. Wow, that was quick. Usually I get through like 2-3 rings before somebody picks up and it starts yelling at me, telling me who's calling. So, where was I? About eyes. Yeah. The other type of eye that you can look at is tear duct vision, and that's going to be more of a tube, and that's going to be with like mainly the resin type eyes, the more realistic eyes that are out there, and those basically put right in the tear duct here. Can you see that? Yeah. A little hole that you can see through, and usually it's going to be covered in fur, and it's actually quite a bit smaller than people realize, so you don't actually notice it as much. From what I understand, it allows decent vision, though I think you're going to cut down a lot on your peripheral vision with that type. With the neck vision, you're going to be limited pretty much just by how much mesh you put on there. I mean, you can put mesh all the way around if you want, and you're going to have virtually the same vision as if you weren't wearing a mask at all. Looking through the mouth, that's going to be dictated by the shape of your muzzle. If you have teeth in there, that can actually make it more difficult to see. If you've got long fur that hangs down, or you've got like a beard, goatee, mustache, anything that's going to obstruct the mouth in any way, that's going to impede your vision. And also you're going to have to look at how far back the jaw opens. If it opens up here and your head is back here, your peripheral vision is going to be non-existent. If you're seeing here and it opens back here, you're going to have great peripheral vision, though you might have people just on a side shot seeing your nose sticking through or something and getting weird comments like, oh my goodness, that furry ate somebody. Vision in my suit, honestly, with these eyes, they're not, I wouldn't say they're cartoony. They're more in the middle. They are follow me to some extent. I'm getting better at that. I literally worked through 5 or 6 designs before I settled on how to do my eyes, and I think they're pretty much the same in Alpine, though his are actually circular, whereas these ones are more of an almond shape. As far as vision, I'm going to stare straight at the camera, so I can't see you. You're in my blind spot. I have a central blind spot. I can see out this way and see out this way, so I have pretty good peripheral vision. I'd say that's probably what? Let's see, that's maybe 120 degrees, maybe 110. So it's pretty good. I mean, my peripheral vision normally is just actually a little bit better. So as far as peripheral is concerned, it's not that bad. Height-wise, pretty much anything under here. Anything under here, I'm looking straight ahead, I can't see. And up top, it's going to be pretty much anything up and away at an angle of, let's see, about like this. I won't be able to see. Being tall, it doesn't really, I'm not too worried about stuff up here. What I'm more worried about is tripping over little kids and making them cry. Because nobody likes a crying kid. Especially if you kicked them over. Which I have done. Not in suit. Just tripping over people. So, and that's one thing you're going to want to experiment with yourself. is how well the vision is in your suit or the suit you're making. And one thing that you might want to ask the maker, if you have very limited vision, it might feel very claustrophobic, and that can be difficult for some people because you're in a suit. I'm not going to say it's exactly like wearing a straitjacket, but it's very similar to being tied up in something. And if you're afraid of tight spaces, it might not be the best idea for you. So you're going to want to have, if you still intend to suit, you're going to want to take every precaution and try to make it as enjoyable an experience for you as possible. So I'm going to take a break right now because my camera is still doing that funky thing where it shuts off every 20 minutes. So, and then we'll come right back with a few more questions that we have and wrap up this episode, hopefully. So, catch you in a bit. Okay, we're back. Alright. Here's another question. Should I ask the maker about what adhesives are used in the head? And they go on to mention regarding carcinogenic, cancer-causing fumes. I'd be less concerned about something that's going to cause cancer, because by the time it gets to you, it's going to have sufficiently aired out enough, unless you're literally picking it up the day after they finished, which is highly unlikely. What's more probable is that they're going to use a material that you are allergic to. There are plenty of people out there that are allergic to latex. There are some adhesives that use latex. I know I have to be careful and make sure I use 100% silicone base. I can't use anything with latex just because I've got family members that are allergic. And if you're allergic or anybody you know is allergic to any type of material, make sure you let the maker know. The last thing you want is to have a adverse allergic reaction while in suit and have to be cut out. It might be a nice suit, but if you can't wear it, it's just going to collect dust and kind of useless. You know, quite a bit of money down the drain, if you ask me. So, if you have any allergies or concerns, run them by the maker first. If you're not sure, ask them what they do use, and look it up yourself. Decide if you really want to have that either touching your skin or real close to your skin and possibly breathing in a few fumes. Again, the fumes probably won't be much of an issue, as it should hopefully have aired out sufficiently by the time you receive it. If you make your own head, of course you're going to know what's in it, and if you smell into the fumes while you're working on it and you get a little dizzy, a little lightheaded, a little nauseous, that's probably a good idea to make sure you open a window, or make sure you allow plenty of time for it to air out before actually putting it on. Because when you're at home, especially if you're home alone and nobody else is there, it doesn't look too well in the paper when they find your body on the floor because you passed out and you're wearing an animal costume's head. That just doesn't go over too well with the news. So let's try to keep that aspect safe. If in doubt, just put it on the side, let it air out. If in doubt, air it out. That works. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some specifics on construction. We're going to start with the head and just work our ways down. So I'm going to borrow Alpine here. And as you can see, his entire head is one well, it's not, it's made of multiple pieces, but it's one unit. It's not a balaclava base, so this is actually foam back in here. Try to get the nape out. When you do make these, you are going to want to have some sort of nape, either to tuck into a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, jacket, or even to just tuck into a bodysuit, or let it drape over the bodysuit. But mainly that's to cover up your neck, so you don't have that awkward moment where you look up and people see your cheesy smile underneath. Believe me, it's always cheesy when that's all you can see. When I construct this, I start with the forehead. I start with a head base, a mannequin, or I use, because the head foam mannequin that I have is a little bit too small for my head by several inches. Yes, I have a big head. So I made a duct tape dummy of my head. I don't recommend that, and I do not recommend letting somebody else cut you out. You'll have bald spots. I've used that head base. I'm sure it's lying around here somewhere. That's what I build off of. I stuff it full of foam so it holds its shape, and then I'm able to basically cut my different pieces of foam, glue them together. I don't glue them to the head mold itself, and I don't build balaclava based heads as of yet. I might try for my next one, just to make it smaller. But as far as the head construction, you're going to have to experiment. Look for tutorials. They are out there. And even if you can just find a good picture of a head that was constructed using foam before the fur was added, that can speak volumes just by looking at one image. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words. In the world of craft and making things, I think a picture's more worth 10,000 words. Okay? So if you can find good images, especially multi-angle shots of the same piece, you can oftentimes pretty much decide on what shapes you need. And one thing that I found works really well for me is to actually take just regular old copy paper, trace down what I think the piece looks like, cut it out on paper, and hold that up to the head that I'm using as basically a model. And that gives me a general idea of what that piece is going to look like once I curve it, before I have to cut it out of the foam. If I don't like the way that piece looks, it's really easy to throw it away and trace out a new one, cut it out, and compare. It's a little hard when you're running short on foam and you just cut the last piece and you only have tiny bits and pieces left. Yes, you can reconstruct parts from scraps, though that's going to be pretty hefty, considering the amount of glue you're going to need to use to re-adhere it to itself and piece it back together. And alright, let's talk a little bit about ears. That's a big thing with the head, evidently. That's where you get a lot of expression. You get some with the eyebrows, and honestly, you're going to get more expression if you use markings for the eyebrows, like the ones right here. If it was one solid color, you're not going to notice it as much, but the arched eyebrow over here for the marking gives more expression than the eyebrow itself does. And with ears, that's mainly where you're going to dictate to the world how your character feels. So you can have them pushed back. I can't push these back. Push forward. You could have floppy ears, straight up ears. I mean, the whole caboodle. So you're going to want to look at what type of designs you like, what type of ear styles. Do you like small, round ears? Do you like long, shaggy ears? Do you like sharp, pointed? and basically decide then, based off that, how you're going to go about constructing them. The ear is not a triangle in general. You can make it a triangle, and then you're going to have to do a little bit of trimming. Generally, it's more shaped like a teardrop in the aspect that it starts at not a really sharp point, but it comes down from that, kind of bowls around, and it doesn't come back together. It's more like you cut the bottom off that teardrop after it starts coming back together. And one thing you're going to have to make sure to do is you're going to curve it ever so slightly. Yes, you can do flat ears. Firefly's ears are, no, those are curved. Firefly, alpine, I'm so confused right now. I literally only had like 2 hours of sleep in the past 48 hours. So, been real busy. And the reason you want that curve is because it creates the illusion that the ear is actually 3D. Well, I wouldn't say the illusion, it literally makes the ear 3D. And that really helps with the inside of the ear. Firefly's ears aren't curved all that much. And you're going to experiment, I'm sure. And if you don't, shame on you. You need to preferably cut out paper in the general shape that you think is going to work once the head is finished, preferably, so you have something to compare it with. Cut out 2 of them and just stick them on the head. Try them at different positions, different angles. Put them out wide, put them out back, up top. Figure out what works for you, what you like. The nice thing about making your own suit is you get to decide how it looks in the end. It's not going to matter what other people think about your suit. If they like it, more power to them. But the main thing is you're making this suit for you. So feel free to do something crazy, do something wild, do something different. And a lot of people make their ears rather bland, and they'll add, to spice them up a little bit, they'll add like a special marking to the back of the ear. They might add like a different colored tip on the ear. Some people, like Firefly here, they have earrings on the side. Just little things to add a little bit of flair and make them more unique. Another thing that you're going to have to experiment with in the head is if you want to have a moving or a static jaw. A static jaw is a jaw that just holds still the entire time, doesn't move at all. It's fixed. No matter how much you talk and open your mouth, it's not going to move. So, and the difference between a static and a moving or a dynamic jaw is I can move when I talk, which I have to exaggerate quite a bit with this. It's not perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. I mean, you try your hardest to get close, but that's the best you can do. So be it. And you're going to want to experiment with that, find out what works with you. And when you make it, if you're going to make it movable, make sure you can still get your head in afterwards. I had that issue, and it took a good 2-3 hours before I reworked the jaw to the point where I could actually get my head inside. So again, don't do what I do. Learn from my mistakes and do better. Next, the tail. That is definitely the easiest part. These guys are literally, I mean, it's a beginner sewing project, honestly. Cut out your fur pattern for it. Stitch it together like a giant sock. Fill it with stuffing. Sew off the end and attach some kind of loop or attachment point to hook it to a belt loop, some way to attach it to your body, and you're good to go. If you are putting different colors together, like Firefly's got the camel and the black marking, then you're going to want to trace out the patterns for that and preferably put it in 2 parts. And by 2 parts, I mean you're going to want to have it so you're making 1/2 of the pattern, and you literally fold the fabric over and duplicate it. So you're not going to have a triangle that's lopsided or a circle that's more of an egg. And I learned the hard way. You notice Alpine's tail up there in the corner. If you guys can see that, I'm not sure you guys can. He's got a black stripe that ends with a diamond mark, and as far as that goes, one side of the diamond is further over and the other one's actually closer in and further down. I don't know how that happened, because I did flip it over. It might just have something to do with how I sewed it. But again, learn from my mistakes. Do it right the first time, maybe. You can try, right? Hand and feet paws. I'll tell you a little bit about how I make those. There's lots of different opinions on how those should be made. A lot of people do the, I guess the clown shoe type, where they literally glue definitely did not get enough sleep. Where they glue foam blocks or circular shapes to the front of a shoe, and that can work mainly if you're doing plantigrade type, and we'll talk what the difference is with that as compared to digigrade. And the main issue I have with that is that creates a rather large foot, and for somebody that's already got big feet, it can make it really awkward. You step on people's feet, other people step on yours. It can be kind of hard to walk or run. So what I prefer to do is literally build my foot the entire length of the shoe that I plan to wear. So my feet paws, I've got one over here, for example. The shoe, you can see, because I've been walking around, literally goes from one end of the base of the shoe, or of the paw, to the other. And these are just a cheap canvas slip-on shoe, so I don't have to worry about tying them. And I cut basically foam triangles out, put 4 of them on, 1 for each toe. And when I then fur them, these ones are furred differently than Fireflies. These ones are actually furred with a strip that comes all the way across and gets tucked in. Fireflies are furred with individual strips that run the length of each toe and then wrap around each toe, which works better. I'm actually able to stick stuff between my toes and actually hold them there. So again, experiment, find what works for you. The way these work, it makes them very small and tight, which really helps with digigrade, so it makes it look like you're walking on your toes rather than the flat part of the foot, or for a dog, especially what's known as the hock, which is that part right behind the foot that sticks up. Comes to that sharp angle that everybody's always complaining about trying to replicate. When it comes to hand paws, you can just do simple gloves. 5-fingered, 4-fingered. These are 4-fingered with padding. And as far as padding goes, it's just obviously made tubes for the fingers in foam, I think. Yeah, there's like foam tubes for the fingers, and then like a foam pad here, and a small foam pad somewhere up here, just to add bulk and make it appear a little bit bigger to go with the rest of the fursuit. And sewing these together, you're going to want to sew each individual finger separately, and then sew them all together, and then sew the rest of the paw on, leaving the ends of each finger open for the claws, cinching them up, like by sewing around and pulling it taut, basically to make like a drawstring type closure, putting your claw in and cinching it up around the claw. That creates a pretty good closure on it. Looks more realistic and actually helps draw the fur in around it. Let's see, where to go from here. If I lose the computer, wake up. real quick, difference between digigrade and plantigrade. Digigrade is basically the animal-like. It's going to have the hawk. It's going to come down at an angle, bulbous, come out, and it's going to have that hawk coming out to the foot. If you look at some of my pictures on Fur Affinity, Alpine has digigrade. In my dance videos, I'm just doing plantigrade right now because I've yet to finish the digigrade half of Firefly suit. Plantigrade is basically what humans are. It's how we walk. It's two straight legs with a knee in the center, and we walk on the heel of our, well, we walk on the ball of our foot, but we rest on the heel. Digigrade is literally walking on the toes of the foot with the heel in the air. So, a little bit of difference there. Woo! We're knocking stuff over. Our final question, well, it's not really a question, it's just more comment on my part, is to build or to buy. That's really going to be up to you. How much money are you willing to fork out for this endeavor? How creative are you? Are you one of those people that you can't even stitch your own socks? Or are you the person that makes the period costumes and everybody thinks you bought it off Craigslist or something or an antique store? So, depends on your skill level. It's going to depend on how much money you're willing to throw at it. Or spend, I guess. You don't have to throw it. I don't recommend throwing your money. You have a tendency to lose it that way. Whoa. What happened? I touched the mouse. Cool. There we go. I'm getting better at this. Whoa. Maybe not. I'm sure we'll get all the kinks worked out sometime. Maybe like the last episode? Maybe? I don't know. So, make the decision yourself. If there's still questions you have, feel free to shoot them to me and I can try to answer them via email. Ask them on Twitter and I can get to them directly. Other people, I'm sure, are going to have the same questions as you. And look at tutorials. See what goes into it. And if you're going to get something commissioned, ask other people that have had stuff commissioned by that particular maker what they thought of the process, how it went, any comments or critiques they might have, what they like or didn't like about it, because something they dislike might be something you like, and vice versa. So you're going to have to look into it yourself. I mean, it's not something I can decide for you to build or to buy. I build my own because I like the hands-on aspect, and also it's a lot cheaper. It's definitely cheaper to build your own, or sew your own, I guess, than it is to buy. And mainly that's because people are in it for profit. They need to make money, and this is just one of the ways that people choose to do so. And I think that's pretty much it as far as this episode goes. Again, any questions, send them in. If I didn't cover or I missed your question, let me know and I can get to it at a later date, or respond by email even, or Twitter. So our next episode, this is going to take a while, is, holy smokes, can't read it. Oh boy. That's not good. There's the mouth. What is it? I can't see it. There are definitely benefits to having the computer screen closer. Having it way out here is definitely not one of them. What am I looking at? Click. Click. click, 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 click. Okay, our next episode is learning your fursuit's character and performance. Bringing your character to life, making it the person you want it, making it the person. Yeah, that didn't go over too well. Still trying to work that one through. So we're going to talk about that. After that, we have fursuiting at cons. The question was asked about fursuit care and maintenance. That's going to be episode 6. Honestly, if you need some help, shoot me an email or comment on any specifics, and I'll try to help as best I can. Oh, almost forgot. This was the last thing. It's on the last page. You got bumped a whole page. No. Ah. Oh, well, I remember what it is. This foam is still here, and that is for a contest I'd like to do. And it's kind of a contest, kind of not. I'm looking at making another, just a partial, just for fun, because I enjoy making them. I find it really fun, and I want you guys to help me create the character. So send in any artwork you might have. It's definitely going to have to be canine. I don't do anything else. So send me in your, if you want. This is completely up to you. I'm not going to have a closing date because I have no idea how much people are going to submit or be willing to help. But send me colored sketches, designs that you might have, any possible names that you think could go with your designs. And I'm looking to basically bring something that you create to life for you guys. And when I do decide on the final piece of art, I'll probably have a closing date, probably, let's see, what is it, the 18th? Let's go by the end of this month. So is that the 31st? It's April, so April, May, April. So 30th. Yes? Yeah, the 30th. I have to think things through. I'm not 100% right now. I'm kind of still tired. I should probably go take another nap. So send in your submissions for character art, and I'm leaning towards orange and blue colors primarily, just because I'm looking for something different, more like along the neon colors. Either that or some interesting markings, facial markings. Again, it's just going to be a partial, so that means it's going to have hand and feet paws. It will have sleeves at some point. Of course, I probably won't be getting the fur until after I finish Firefly, but it'll give me time to start actually on the head itself and get the expression down that it's going to have. It's going to have a tail, of course, and a head. So let me know what you guys want to see out there, and send me your art. I will definitely give credit to whoever I finally pick as the original designer of the artwork and character concept. And I'd like to get working on that, so send your stuff in. And that's it for this episode of Fursuit Nation. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, or message us on Twitter at Fursuit Nation, or you can email us at fursuitnation@gmail.com. Also, you can check us out on Fur Affinity and DeviantArt under the usernames SierraCanine. So go check us out. If this was helpful for you, and you feel it would be helpful for others, feel free to share it. That's what this is for. It's to give other people the tools and the ability to go out and do this themselves. So until next time, I'm your host Firefly, and catch you on the flip side.